What was the wildest way you found out you were being cheated on? Story number 1. Roommate left her laptop open on her desk in our gaming room. She blogged a lot back in the day, when it seemed like almost everyone had a daily journal, WordPress page. She kept up with it after most people had given up on blogging. Well, according to her and her blog, I was somehow involved in an open relationship with her and my boyfriend at the time. She was writing about her experiences being in an open relationship and how cool it was to have both a boyfriend and a girlfriend at the same time. That was all news to me. For more context, the three of us lived together in a 3-bedroom home. I agreed to let her move into our guest bedroom just until she could get back on her feet after a rough breakup, since she was a mutual friend of both me and my boyfriend. So, yeah, I found out I was being cheated on by snooping on my roommate's blog. Story number 2. Hadn't checked my credit score in a few years. My husband handled the finances, and I knew what cards I had and that I paid them off right away, so I wasn't super worried about it. First, I was wrong. I learned that you should always check your credit score. I check it once per week now. Second, I learned that I was the proud owner of an almost maxed out credit card that I had no idea existed and that I had never opened. When I asked my soon-to-be ex-husband about it, we were in the middle of a divorce at the time. He owned up to having opened a credit card in my name since I had better credit. But he got super squirrely and wouldn't answer or provide access to the account, said he would cover it and to just let it go. I didn't need to see it if it wasn't my problem. Of course, that's not how it works, and clearly something was very off about it. My lawyer was able to get him to provide information on these accounts by threatening a subpoena, and upon digging through the card history, this was the magical moment that I learned that not only had he opened an account in my name several years earlier, but all of the charges were local hotel and high-end restaurant charges. To this day, he insists that they were all for work. He's not the type to own up to his mistakes, but given that they occurred when he was apparently traveling out of state, that's pretty clearly bullshit. I feel like it's a testament to how burned out and done I was that I wasn't even all that upset, but rather just added it to the pile of reasons why I was elated to be almost done with him. Slightly upset that I was sacrificing my career for his crazy travel schedule, and he wasn't actually traveling, sure, but as for feeling let down, no, not really. I'm not even sure it was in the top 10 of reasons I was glad to be out of there. Also, shout out to my lawyer for making sure I never saw a cent of that debt or any of the other horrible financial choices that I only learned about during our divorce. I walked away with a clean slate, and I know plenty of people who aren't that lucky. Story number 3. His sister kept calling me Annie, and my name is Annie, short for Andrea. I corrected her a few times, but I didn't care for her at all, so after I ignored her since I thought she was trying to be obnoxious. We only saw her once a week or so, then I find out after almost a year that he was cheating. Only I was the mistress because he had been with Annie for 3 years and they had a child together. I still don't know if his sister was calling me Annie to laugh behind my back or to make him uncomfortable, probably both. It must have been hilarious to her. Anyway, he used to drive my car all the time, and one day I was out running errands and came out of the store to find a woman with her toddler standing by the car. I asked her if I could help her, and she said, "No, I'm just trying to find out what store my boyfriend is in. This is his car." So yeah, we both learned a lot that day. We hung out all day together comparing stories of times he was unreachable. Then we confronted him together. He walked into her apartment and sat down on the couch with a beer before noticing I was standing there with her in the kitchen. He said nothing, just put the beer down, got up and left, ignoring both of us as we peppered him with questions. This was about 13 years ago, and I haven't spoken to him since. She stayed with him. She was 6 months pregnant the day I met her, found out about her. Story number 4. I had just gotten home for 3 weeks summer holidays. I hadn't been home or seen my wife for a few weeks, so I was excited to get home. It was on the Saturday night, and I could sense she was awake into the small hours on her phone. I never thought anything of it, as I'd never had a reason to not trust her. At 4:30 a.m., she got up out of bed and said she was going to pick her brother up from a party. COVID lockdown had just ended, so everyone was partying. We effed young kids, so we didn't go out. She comes home just over an hour later and jumps into bed wearing sexy underwear, which was the opposite of what she went to bed wearing. Married men will understand. I woke up with the kids at 7 and the whole situation didn't sit right with me. I took the dash cam footage from the car and loaded it onto the computer. There it was, clear as day. Some dude who did not look like her brother at all was thankful she came to pick him up, and they flirted in the car for a bit before dropping him off at his house. It was difficult to watch, but when I confronted her, she broke down and confessed. 2 weeks later, and the car was sold. 6 weeks after that, the house was sold. A year later, and we're divorced. It was a tough point of my life, but thank God for that dashcam. Saved me wasting more time of my life with a woman that didn't value me as much as I valued her. I've now moved on with an absolutely fantastic woman, and I have my life back, but better. Story number 5. We were living together with her parents, so we could afford college. I was delivering pizzas. She worked retail at the mall. This was like 17 years ago. I got rear-ended at work. Car was just broken enough to be totaled. I wasn't hurt, but got driven to the hospital anyway just for the whiplash. I called her work to try to tell her, but they said she called in sick. Called her mom, who said she left for work. I was fine, but her mom freaked out and didn't know where her daughter was, so she blew up her phone. Eventually she answered, came to the hospital as I was leaving, and guilt confessed that she had been bullshitting both me and her job to go fuck a dude she met in class. So, all in the span of about an hour or two, I lost my job, my car, my GF of 7 to 8 years, my home, and college. However, plot twist, I deserved it. I was a garbage human being, and the only reason she was with me for so long is because I was emotionally abusive and manipulative. I fucked around and didn't take school seriously. I basically played well all day and had no ambition or motivation to improve my life. I leached off of her and her family, and the relationship was toxic entirely because of me. She was a saint. She met a guy who was 100% better than me in every way possible, who also had a GF he didn't want to be with, so they cheated with each other to make up for their shitty relationships. I don't blame either of them one bit. I hit rock bottom, and she went to the moon. She married that guy, and I eventually realized that I was the cause of my own misery. So I set off on a very long journey of self-reflection and improvement, one that I feel like I'm still on to this day despite having moved on a long time ago. I keep the memory of what I was like and the pain from that day fresh so that I never forget how awful I can be if left unchecked.